Hi everyone, it's Bethany and I'm working on creating some really sweet little notebooks for my girls for the start of school, so I thought I would share what I'm doing. So if you are doing something similar, you have a little bit of inspiration on what materials you can use to make this possible. So for this project, I have two little notebooks here that I purchased and they're so cute. This little one, you'll see when I zoom in to actually decorate them, but it has little tiny strawberries on it. It's so sweet. And then this one has a little bumblebee on it that's really cute. But I'm going to add a little bit more to them just to make them really cute and personalize them a bit. So I bought these for our little toddler girls because for some of our at-home learning lessons, we are going to be working on pre-writing, and for my youngest, definitely just coloring. But I left these because it allows you to have a big chunk of space for some coloring, and then it has some space to write, or for mommy to help write at the bottom too. So I thought this would be a really fun way for us to start collecting a little portfolio of coloring and pre-writing for this little school year. So I'm going to show you what materials I'm going to use. I'm going to use a variety that I think will really bring these together and make them look really pretty. So I'm going to be using the adhesive backed paper that came out with the Cricut. I have a couple tutorials on how to use this. I've actually fallen in love with it. I've actually been telling you guys that when I purchased this, I left it sitting for quite a while because I wasn't sure what to do with it, but the inspiration's really starting to come now, and I kind of find that once you start working with material, you're inspired with how to use it. So if you're kind of wondering what to do with this, I'll link a couple videos throughout this tutorial on how I've used this, but also just get the material out and start working with it, because I really do believe that once you start working with a material, you'll be inspired with all the things that it can do. So I'm going to use some of that. I'm also going to be using some holographic vinyl, which you guys really loved the last time I used it, so we're going to use this as well, and then a little piece of adhesive vinyl. I'm also have a little bit of transfer tape out for those vinyl pieces, and then I have a Cricut Joy mat out just to help with these larger materials to feed them through the Joy, because we're going to be using the Cricut Joy to make this today. A little measuring tape to measure my space, and then we have scissors, a weeding tool, and a little scraper tool. So let me just measure the front of this. So we have about 5 3/4 by 8.5. So let's go ahead and go into design space, and I will show you the two different designs I'm going to put on each of these notebooks, and I think you're really going to love how these turn out.
Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space, and I am going to do two really different designs, so I hope this gives you a little bit inspiration. And remember, you can make these notebooks for anything and personalize them for anybody. So even if you aren't decorating them for little kiddos that are going to school, you can decorate them for high schoolers who have lots of different subject areas. You can make journals for yourself. So just take the inspiration and do what you would like with it. So I'm going to first of all go over to the shapes box and grab a square, and I am going to make that, or let me unlock it first. I'm going to make that 5.75 by 8.5, and this is the size of my notebook, and I will just make this a white color, and then I will duplicate it just so I have two here. And then let me go ahead and make this bigger so we can really see the space we're working with. Okay, so for the first one on the left, this is going to be the strawberry notebook that I have, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to images, and I'm going to type in flower. And then I'm going to look for something that has a circular middle that can be edited a little bit. So let me search and see what I can find. So I'm going to use this right here. So this little one. I'm going to go ahead and insert my image. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this. And it's a multi-layer cut file, which you can see over here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the second layers real quick because I only need that top layer. What I'm going to do is I am going to drag these down here, and I'm going to come over here to the contour button, and I am going to keep the middle of one. Let's see, and then we'll delete that. And then I am going to, I don't think I deleted enough in that. Just one second. Let's see here. Okay, I wanted to keep the smaller of the circles. I had the bigger of the circles selected. So I have the smallest of the circles kept right there. And then I'm going to take this one, I'm going to contour out the middles, and leave the perimeter. Okay, so that gives me a 2-layer cut file instead of a single layer cut file. So now I have one piece for the outside and one piece for the inside. And the reason I did that is because I want to be able to use 2 different materials for each of these cuts. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to come over here to the text box. I am going to use the font Kate's ABCs. I love this font, and I'm going to add the initial K, and this is one of the initials for my kiddos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it on, and let me make this a white color so we can really see it, but I'm going to place it in the middle of this flower, and I'm going to slice it out so that I have just a little slice out design for this. Okay, so I am going to grab the K, and selecting Command on my keyboard, I'll have the K and the circle selected. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and say Align Center. That way it's centered on that little circle. And then I'm going to come down here and say Slice. Okay, so now what it did was it sliced that K right out of the middle of that. You see right there how it's right out of the middle. So now I have a little slice initial out of this little inside of the flower there. So I can delete my little slice results. Okay, so that looks great. I'm going to go ahead and grab both of these layers and really size that up. I want this to be nice and big on here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my text again using the same font, Kate's ABCs. I am going to type out the year. So I'm going to say 2020. Okay, and I'm going to then come up to the curve button, and I'm going to curve it to the left. And I'll show you why. I'm going to bring this down a little bit, bring it over here, and I'm going to turn it, and I'm just going to add a little fun year to the front of the notebook. That way we can just keep this. This is going to be a little special notebook for her. So that way, in case I want to keep this in her little memory box for the years ahead, then I have the year. Okay, so that is how I'm going to design the first one. I think that looks really, really sweet. So this again is a multi-layer font. I can delete that second layer. I don't need that at all. Okay, so that is the first one. Now the second one is going to be a little different. I wanted them to be really, really different. So the second one is going to be for my youngest, who is 2, and hers is going to be her little coloring journal. And I thought I would do a little bit of a different design on here just to use some different materials and inspire some different ways you can decorate. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to go to the text box, and I'm going to use 3 different text boxes, and I'm going to say my, and I'll bring that over here, and I'm going to grab another text box. Oh, it jumps around when I do that. And I'm going to say coloring. And then the final word is going to say journal. Okay, there we go, my coloring journal. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to make these some different text. So for the coloring, I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to use the Martha Stewart Banneret. So I'm going to type in Banneret. Maybe I'll just type in Martha Stewart. Okay, it is this right here. So I'm going to add that. I thought that would be really, really sweet. So I'm going to size this down a little bit. And on this one, I have a bumblebee up here. So I want to make sure that I compensate that for my design, because I don't want to cover that little bumblebee up. It's really, really cute. Although I will mention, if you find a notebook that you really like that has a print on the front or a little, picture or anything, decorating your own notebooks is a wonderful way to cover things up. So if you like a notebook but you don't really like the design, you can always cover it up and do something different. Okay, so I'm going to make that a nice pink color. And then what I'm going to do, I think this is going to be my holographic vinyl. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my others, and I'm going to make that the font Smart Cookie by Martha Stewart. So I'm going to type in Martha again, and I'm going to find Smart Cookie, which is this one right here. I will go ahead and grab it again. Okay, so then I can go ahead and what I will do is select both of these and size them at the same time. That way everything sizes together. Oops. Okay, and I'm going to size that down just a tad more, just like that, I think. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I can go ahead and just select one at a time at this point. That looks really nice. I like how that looks. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure everything is colored in the appropriate color. That way my machine knows what to cut out on which material. So this is going to be on the paper material, that deluxe adhesive back paper. So I am going to make these, let's see, I'm gonna make these I'll keep that one a purple, and then for the outside, I'll make this a red, just so I know which one to send through. And then I'm gonna make this date and also the my and journal. Let me select command here. My and journal and the 2020 are all going to be out of a bright pink. So what I can do is I can just grab the 2020 and make that a bright pink, which it is, and then I can go ahead and come over to Color Sync, and I can just make sure that my and journal are on the same layer as that 2020, and that just color syncs them all together to make sure that they're the same. And then this other one that I'm going to do is actually going to be the holographic. So I will make this kind of a yellow color, and that will prompt me to load the holographic. Okay. I think I'm all set. So if you're ever unsure, you can go over to Color Sync and just look at what is colored what. So I have my paper and my paper, I have my holographic, and then I have my bright pink vinyl. So I think that all looks really great. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up and I'm going to say Cricut Joy, and that will allow me to cut everything out on the Cricut Joy. Now, another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that, actually, I'm going to size this. No, I think that sizing is good. I was going to size it up, but I think that's going to look just fine. Okay, another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hide these little rectangles because those were just for measuring purposes, and we don't need the Joy to cut out anything else. So now I can go ahead and click Make It, and then everything is going to be placed on a mat. So the adhesive back paper needs to go on a mat. So everything will be on a mat, and all of our larger materials will be cut down and placed on a mat. I can say done. And then it's going to, since we did that color sync and we color code everything, it's going to place everything separately. So our first thing going through is going to be our paper. Then the next thing going through will be our holographic vinyl. Then we'll have more paper, and then we will have our little vinyl, adhesive vinyl. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this, and I'm going to just bring this away just a little bit, just so I have a little bit of room to work in between those pieces. And I think we're all set, so I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Okay, so we're using a variety of different materials. So for the paper, I'll walk you through real quick. The paper mats, what I'm going to do is go browse all materials, and I will come down to paper, and I'll use the deluxe paper adhesive back. So I'll select that for the 2 layers of paper that I'm going to be doing. And then for the mats that have the holographic vinyl, or the one mat that has a holographic vinyl, I will come back in and I will say browse all materials, and I will come down to vinyl, and I will say holographic, just holographic, premium vinyl holographic. So that will be the setting for that one. And then for the final one, which is just adhesive vinyl, I will be in vinyl again, and I will just say premium vinyl. So those are the 3 different settings that I will manually change for each mat that go through the Joy. So let's go ahead and get cutting.
Okay, so the first thing going through is the paper, and I love this paper pack. I use this in a different tutorial. This is called Nature Walk. It's a Natalie Milan print, and I love it. So I'm going to bring some of these out, and I know already that I want to use 2 of the printed papers. So I'm going to use this, and then I'm also going to use this, and I think those will look really, really pretty on the little strawberry one. So I think that's going to look really nice. So now I just need to decide. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the pink for the petals, which is the surrounding area, and then I will do the middle part with the little K cut out with the purple. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set the rest of these to the side, and I'm going to grab my mat. So you do need to use a mat for these adhesive back paper, and I'm going to go ahead and take this little sheet off real quick, and then I'm going to place my pink first, because that is the machine, or the that is the print that it's calling for first. Okay, so you're going to want to keep an eye on your design space. That is going to walk you through which mat to load first. So this one will go first. I'm going to go ahead and auto load it, and then I will select go to go ahead and cut out that first layer. So while that's cutting, I will go ahead and get my holographic vinyl ready, and it just needs a small little piece. So I'll just go ahead and cut that with my scissors. So I'm going to use, this is a sampler. I can't remember the actual name of it, but I'll link it down below because I've used it before. So I'm going to use this kind of yellowy, bright pink one that really looks cool when it's done. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab a little piece of that. Okay, I can go ahead and unload my mat, and that first cut is done. It looks great. So then I can go ahead and turn my mat over, and then I'm going to place a nice palm on my paper and then peel the mat away from the paper. That way it doesn't bend or anything. So that looks really, really good. Then I'm going to go ahead and place my vinyl on here, and I'm going to switch my settings in Cricut Design Space so that it says holographic vinyl, just like I showed you. And then I'm going to go ahead and continue cutting out all the materials, and then we'll get everything placed on the notebooks. Okay, so my last little piece is done, and I wanted to mention, make sure that you are looking through your scrap material, because all of these little cuts are very small, and so for at least for this size notebook, and I can imagine actually for even a full-size notebook, these are still pretty small cuts. So this is a wonderful project for your scrap materials, and I'll be sure to link how I have now stored my scrap materials in my new system, because it's really making sure that I utilize all of my scrap materials so much better than I did in the past. So what I'm going to do now is just, again, cut off any remaining scrap material. That way I can go ahead and save it for a later project. So I'll go ahead and save this in my little scrap box. And I'm going to go ahead and get weeding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the paper first. So these little adhesive back papers are really, really easy actually. So what I'm going to do is, it's on a cutting mat just like vinyl would be. I'm almost going to just weed it out like I would infusible ink. So I'm going to just take away the perimeter. And we're going to not be using any type of transfer tape for this material, because while you can use a really light grip transfer tape to place things on this material, you don't really need transfer tape because it's a very sturdy cardstock, which is just essentially a sticky cardstock. And then you can also keep this little middle and do something with it, because now you have a nice little circle. So what I'll do is I'll set this to the side and place it back on this sheet once I'm done. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my little strawberry notebook here. And what I'm going to do is that's going to look so cute on this. Okay. Let me go ahead and actually move this so I can move this up a little bit. Okay, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I am one of those people, let me know if you are too, but I love school supply season. I used to be a kindergarten teacher, but even before that, I love school supplies. It's just one of my favorite things ever. And I feel like everybody needs a new set of colored pencils and a new notebook at the beginning of every school year, right? Even if you're an adult. And I did that actually before kids, and after like my teaching years, I didn't really, even when I didn't really need anything and I wasn't in school, I still got myself something school supply related around this time. So I just peeled that like a sticker, and it's a nice sturdy piece of cardstock. Of course you want to be careful with it, but it's sturdy, so don't worry about pulling that up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of find the middle there, and I'm going to place it right on the notebook there. And then just with a little rub, it's already down. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and grab this little pink or purple piece and get this weeded out the same way. So I'm just going to, actually, I can just take away, that way I can leave that K on the little sheet there. I'm just going to take away this little circle. And again, just being careful, but it's really sturdy, so. Okay, now I have my little K, and I can just place it right in the middle here. And you see a little strawberry through there too. Okay, that looks really, really cute. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on, I think it's went under here. I'm going to weed this out because it has my little 2020 on here. So I will go ahead and grab my little scraper tool, and I'm going to save this on a little sheet because I'm sure I can find something to do with that. And I'll save this little K as well, because you could even actually layer them one on top of another and do something even cuter. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my little scraper tool, and I like to just run a little press right over my vinyl before I weed it. And then I also have my little tiny piece of holographic as well, so I'll do the same with that. And just make sure everything is in its place before weeding out. So let's go ahead, grab our weeding tool. And I like to weed out the surrounding area first. Now these are a little bit smaller pieces. They're definitely fine, but just take your time so you don't accidentally pull anything up. I like to take my time on smaller pieces and keep my weeding tool handy to place and push anything down that's trying to come up that actually needs to stay put. Okay. Okay, so now I have just the middles to weed out, and then we will be ready to place our little date on our notebook here. Okay, so I'm just going to grab my scissors, and I have some transfer tape that I'm actually reusing from another project, so I'm just going to grab a little piece of that. Make sure that if your transfer tape is still sticky that you reuse it, because you can get a lot of projects out of a piece of transfer tape. So I'm going to go ahead and just press that on there, and the transfer tape is what takes it off of that cutting sheet and allows you to transfer it to your project. So I'm going to go ahead and peel away my little carrier sheet there and grab our notebook, and we'll just place that right where we want it. Now you'll want to be careful with your transfer tape on the paper. So I did mention earlier that you can use a transfer tape on paper. I will link a tutorial in which I've done so, and it's where I made these little cute little clips with this paper. And you'll just want to use a light grip transfer tape. For example, if you are going to want to layer vinyl on top of the paper, it's possible. You just want to use a light grip transfer tape so it doesn't rip the paper. So this is not a super light grip transfer tape. It's also not really sticky either, so it's okay, but you just want to, if you have something that's really sticky, you want to make sure you are monitoring where you're placing it. That way it doesn't hurt that paper. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is move on to the next one. So this is the first one. How cute is that? I love how that turned out. That's going to be really special for her. Okay, so now I'm going to work on the little bumblebee one, but first I need to weed out my little holographic piece here. So let me go ahead and do that. I love this little banner look. I think it's going to be so cute, and I think they're going to love that little holographic look on it, because it's so cool how you can get a different color when you're shifting the material around. I love that. Okay, and then we're actually going to weed out the little letters inside the banner here. So I'm going to grab these tiny little letters, and I'll just place them on my finger as I go. We'll take those out. Okay, so I'm all set for that. And what I'm going to do next is I will just cut these little pieces apart, and we'll go ahead and place everything on our notebook. So let's go ahead and put this in the middle. We're going to grab a little piece of transfer tape. And let's see here, what can we reuse? We can reuse a lot. So I'm just going to measure that. And let's see if we can use one piece of transfer tape for this entire notebook. Okay, so I'm going to grab this off of here, and I'm going to lay down the coloring banner first. So I'm just going to place it right over my vinyl, gently scrape it down. I'm going to turn it over, gently scrape it down again, just to reinforce it, and then peel off the carrier sheet. Okay, so now I am going to center that the best that I can and also get that straight. That looks good to me. Lay it down, and then I'm just gonna, with my fingers going towards the outside, start in the middle and then lay that down. And I think I accidentally bubbled it just right here. So let me fix that. All fixed. Okay. So now it doesn't look really crazy right now because that transfer tape really masks the holographic look, but I'll just scrape that down a little bit. The scraping part might not even be very necessary, but because this is kind of a text, or has more of an image than a text in it and has some more vinyl, then I'm going to go ahead and just reinforce that with a scraper. Okay, I'm going to grab a little corner of that transfer tape and then just gently peel away, leaving the design on the notebook. Cute! Oh my gosh, I love that. How cute is that? She's going to love that. And it's really cool with the sparkle of the little bumblebee. So then I can go ahead and place my other pieces. Let me do this journal piece. Okay. And I'll cut this down and place the other little piece on the my. So we did a lot of work with just one piece of transfer tape. So what I like to do is I like to use the least amount of transfer tape as I can because it helps my eye visually with centering things. So I like to trim mine down. So I'll grab my scraper tool and just very lightly, when you're working with smaller letters, you don't want to be super aggressive with your scraper tool because you can get them, like kind of rub them up, if that makes sense, or scrape them up. I've done that, and you essentially have to just start over because it's really hard to fix it. Okay, and then I'm just going to peel away that carrier sheet. Everything is just transferring so perfectly. Okay, and then I'm going to center this the best I can. I might even look at my design in Design Space and see how I had that centered. Whoops. At the J kind of right under here. Okay, that looks good to my eye. Okay. Oh, I love the pop of that pink on this. And then I'll just do a really light scrape for that. And peel away. Very cute. Oh my goodness. You know what? I did buy myself a journal as well, just as the teacher in this situation. I finally have all my lesson planning done for, I lesson planned through December. And mainly because if it were up to me, I would lesson plan for the whole year because that's just how my teacher brain works. But I feel like the girls are just learning things so quickly at this age that I find that even in July, I had ideas for the school year, and then the little stinkers went and learned the skill, and I had to replan, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to plan a whole year because they're just going to be completely different people by the time December rolls around, so we're going to have to learn completely different things next semester if we're still at home learning. Okay, I'm just going to place that little my right there. But, oh, I know where I was going with that. I bought myself a little journal as well. It just didn't arrive in time for this tutorial, but I thought mommy needs a fun little journal too. Plus, I was telling you, I have to get new school supplies for myself at the beginning of the year. It's just a must. It's just the way it is. The school supply aisle is even a better aisle than the shoe aisle for me. I just love it. Okay, there it is. I love it. I think it's so pretty and so cute. And these are two very different ideas. So with adhesive vinyl and also with a adhesive back paper, you can get some really, really neat looking notebooks for this fall. So even if you're going to be at home, make sure that you have some fun and make sure that you take some time and do little special things because it really sets the tone and it's going to make for a really fun school year. So I think these are going to be really, really special. Now that we're zoomed in, I'll show you those. It's kind of hard because it's white, but I'll link these below too so you can see really close up what these look like. But I love, again, the coloring space and then the writing space down here as well. I just think that's going to be so cute, and they're both the same. So my youngest will be doing a lot of coloring, and then she can let me write for her so that we can depict her little pictures. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you all in the next tutorial. Be sure you like this if you enjoyed it, and be sure you're all subscribed because we're going to be doing a lot of fun things to wind down summer. I can't believe we are already getting ready for fall. All right, everyone, have a good day.